told me he did, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm.
That outfit, I would sit there with it, and I would start to push back. I'd be like, you know that chain that you're wearing, the swastika chain. I lost about 9 family members by that group that you're representing right now.
Damn.
Like my grandfather's, all his 9 siblings were killed by Nazis. I have a smaller family right now because of what you're representing. You know, you think those people like black people? When you see a Nazi out, a dude with a Nazi tattoo, you think he loves black people?
No, the fuck
he only hates Jews and loves black people? Like, you know what Hitler did? He sterilized every mixed person in Germany was sterilized so they don't reproduce because they're not trying to taint the superior race that Hitler was trying to create. They weren't necessarily always killing black people, but if you were German and black, you wouldn't be allowed to have babies.
So
your kids, Kanye, your kids, if they were living in Germany at the time, would be robbed of their ability to reproduce.
That's
male
insane.
and female. Northwest will never have children because of what that symbol symbolizes. You know what I'm saying? Answer that.
What he tried to say in response to that, he said, well, listen, and I don't know if this is the sole reason. I think it's much more multifaceted because it's not. So he said, they make money off our pain, but they hate when we try to exploit their pain. And he uses this us versus them type of ideology.
Not everybody.
What do you say
right?
to that?
Not
Where he's like,
Jew.
hey, listen,
you know what I mean?
when it comes to,
It's too general,
I guess he's
bro.
speaking about black people. He's
general.
like,
So every Jewish person makes money off of black pain? Really?
No.
Every Jewish person?
No.
I don't know.
Because he's saying the Jews, meaning all the Jews. He even said in interviews, like, oh, do you remember he was on that one dude, that Proud Boys podcast? And he was like, remember this was, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half ago or something. He did an interview with one of the dudes from the Proud Boys. And the guy's like, hey, so when you say the Jews, are you talking about specific Jews or all Jews? Kind of said all Jews. All Jews. So you're telling me that all Jews make money off of black pain? My mother, my father, all my cousins, everyone in Israel, you know, all the Jews living in New York and LA and everything else like that, all the Jews in South Africa and fucking Brazil and all, like, we're all making money off. This is what we do. This is our profession.
well,
Like, this is what we're trained. Like, we go to colleges to make money off black people's
That's
pain. Like,
crazy.
really? Or are certain people in the record business, you know, in certain positions, and they happen to have certain artists that are gangster rappers, and, you know, they monetize off, you know, and these artists create this music, and they, you know, are the record label leads, and they help these artists to push their albums. Along with all types of other artists.
Just to, in his train of thought, how he was explaining it, he would be like, well, how could one be ignored? And as soon as I wear these symbols that exploiting pain of other people, now this is a bigger issue. Why are we causing a problem here when I do it, as opposed to when pain of black people are?
So that means that there shouldn't be an uproar if I wear a necklace of a black man hanging from a tree.
Exactly. What?
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're exploiting a symbol of violence, not just hate or disdain, actual lethal violence. If any person, black, white, or whatever, but especially non-black person, somehow wears a symbol, an iced out symbol of slavery,
But
it would not go well on any level for that person.
But he's equating that to, say, these executives that happen to be, say, Jewish, if they're monetized.
That's the thing right there, like Act just said, executives. Not all the Jews, you know what I'm saying? And me personally, I think it's a personal people problem, like personal person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't got to do with the whole genetic code. You know what I'm saying?
And off, say, black on black violence, gangsterism, the denigration of black culture. He's like, well, yeah, that might not be lynching and really extreme levels of black turmoil, but it's still black turmoil that they're benefiting off of. So why can't I benefit off, or I don't know if he thinks he's benefiting, but why can't I exploit your pain? That's his argument. I'm not saying
I don't understand his
if
argument.
Kanye
real
dropped,
talk. I really don't get it.
if he wanted to support an artist who was Jewish, who talked about killing other Jewish people, like banging on other Jewish people, whatever else, I don't think anyone would really have a problem with that.
Yeah, nobody would definitely have a
I
problem.
wouldn't give a shit, right?
It's a
That's what he's
fact.
talking about. In fact, a lot of these, when you look at sort of the biggest gangster rap labels, there's usually a black person at the head of them. Suge Knight, QC, Coach K and P, gangster rappers all on that label, right?
And again, I feel like I'm
He
playing
got
devil's
some kind of
advocate.
a point there. He got some kind of a point there for real.
That's just one of their properties out of dozens of artists, including a Taylor Swift and including all these other people and
again,
Ed Sheeran and whatever else.
I'm playing devil's advocate for the conversation here, but I think even when we even got to the Kendrick stuff, he's like, he has this idea of like agents, or sometimes he says slaves, and he's like, hey, listen, Cardi is an agent because Cardi might represent this, but then he's being handled by this guy Lucian, or that's the thing. Kendrick might think, hey, I'm getting at Drake and blah blah blah, but you're basically being puppeteered by the people who own UMG, and those people aren't you. This idea of not like us, the person who's really
Is Kanye, from what Ak is explaining, is he eliminating choice out of the equation? Because people are choosing to sign with these labels, right? I don't know if I'm understanding this properly, but is he eliminating the fact that someone knows what is going to happen when they sign with these labels, who's in charge of these labels, or whatever, and they still choose to do it because they get profit out of it? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to what Kanye is doing, that's not really, because I think it's completely different. Whatever Kanye's point is, I don't think is a point. I get a lot of people seem to kind of agree with it. Oh yeah, but that's too general. It's way too general. You can't blame a whole. That's what we black folks were talking about, right? You can't blame. Not everybody is street as a black person, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't blame. You know what I'm saying? Like a whole people based on a few people's actions. You know what I mean?
really not like us is the person who owns your catalog and that you're really signed to, and that's how he's thinking.
You really think that someone other than Kendrick put together the song "Not Like Us"?
No, not the song, but
the whole beef. Do you think anyone? Do you think that one of the presidents or vice presidents at UMG was like, "Yo, Kendrick, you should do this and beef with Drake. You should, when you do this Future album, Future and Metro Boomin album, you should diss Drake because that's
not on an idea wise, but
Kendrick is Kendrick. Like Kendrick is really so unique in terms of his approach to music that I don't think anyone's
no, of course, but
I don't think anyone's in his ear over this.
And I do agree or believe this. Do I believe that the top level record executive says, hey, listen, we have two of our UMG artists that are gonna start attacking each other, and no matter who wins, we're gonna get the majority of the profits. So we're gonna put resources behind this to fuel. We're gonna use bots. We're gonna push this to radio. We're gonna make this big because we really don't have to do much because people like seeing a fight. We're just gonna profit off of their destruction of each other. Oh yeah, I definitely think that. Now, is it on a race level? No, I think that's
exactly.
business.
It's not on a race level. It's business. That's the thing, right? If it was two rappers that were white rappers that were popping, and it would still be the same thing, right? And that's the thing. It's not on a race level. That's I get like it's not on a race level, bro.
Level. Like,
are they making the majority of the profits, or are the artists making the majority of the profits?
Oh no, definitely the record labels.
You think?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you mean to tell me? Okay, so you mean to tell me
If Drake gets his $400 million, that's was his first contract. His last contract.
Yeah.
$400 million. You think UMG's not at least projected to get at least $2 billion from the proceeds within that 3?
Yeah, nah, Vlad, he got you there, bro. Come on, the record label's making more money than that. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Or 4 years. You don't,
I don't think it's that much.
Vlad.
I don't think the margins are that big. I don't think
Vlad,
the margin
it has to be at least
2.5 times. I don't think so. I don't think the margin.
Vlad, you wouldn't do an interview if you gave somebody $50,000 to do an interview. You wouldn't do it just to get $60,000, would you?
Facts.
You would give that person $50,000 if you're going to make at least 100.
It depends who it is. Depends who it is. Like certain people. Okay, it's like this, right? Think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just numbers at the end of the day, right? So if I pay someone 1,000 and I make 5,000 off of it, that sounds like a good deal, right? I invested 1,000,
yeah,
and I made 5,000 off the interview. If I give Boosie 50,000 and I make 10,000 off of it, the margin is way smaller, but it's still more money than the 5,000 doing the same exact job with regard of the two people. See what I'm saying? So
I don't know.
the margins are smaller, but the overall profit, the raw profit is higher. So when it comes to someone like a Drake, they could take, like, for example, I think the perfect example of this is Cash Money. Cash Money has a deal with Republic, at least originally they did, where like Republic only takes like 15%.
Yeah, it's actually 90-10, yeah.
10%, even better. 90-10 deal, they get to keep their masters, right? They had a huge advance on top of it. There's a reason why Republic, which I think was under Universal at the time also, was only taking 10% because they're like, we're going to make so much money, this 10% is going to turn into millions and millions. But okay, y'all keep the 90 because we know that this is the only way we're going to be able to make this deal. You think Drake is really going to say, I'm going to take 400 million knowing y'all going to make 2.5 times what I make? No. He is so big at the point that he could bring those margins closer to him knowing so much cash will be generated.
Okay. So
no way he's getting 400 million and they make 2 billion. 5 times?
No. Over the
or 1.2. No. It's not like that. They'll give him 400 million and maybe make 5 or 600 million.
No, not even close.
I mean, getting back to Axe point, you kind of still agreeing that they're making more money, you know, than the artist, though. You know what I mean?
Let me give you my reason.
And you got to think that money gets recouped.
Oh,
right?
That's
a lot. Told me he did. I wouldn't be.
Yeah. The whole Kanye thing, you know what I mean? To cut the long story short, yeah, bro. Generalization never works. You know what I'm saying? That's why when I talk, if you notice, I try not to generalize. You know what I'm saying? Generalization it just doesn't work. You eliminating the factor of individuality, choice, being general, like saying, you know, all people, all that's you nah. You know what I mean? And don't forget, I always say on this channel, when you're pointing a finger, these are the ones that are pointing back at you. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm going to leave that there. Y'all can let me know your thoughts, like I say right here. Let me know your thoughts for sure. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button.